I'm gonna love you to the very end. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, my ears are still recovering, Kyle, but the audience likes it, I'm sure.
I thought I was muted.
And everyone seems to think, before we introduce Nelson here, everyone genuinely believes that you actually are Jack Black. Are you going to debunk that rumor here at all?
We have never been seen in the same room before.
And by the way, people dig the fig behind you. They want to know, is that real, fake? What's going on back there?
It's really fake. No, it's real. And supposedly they're nearly impossible to unalive. So I got that going for me too.
That's awesome. All right, let's move to our next guest that's joining us here today. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, moving beyond carbon, advanced solutions for social and environmental sustainability solutions. We briefly talked about ESG in one of our earlier segments today, which is kind of a similar naming here. So Nelson, I just want to thank you for joining us today, and maybe you can intro yourself as well.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Nelson Gonzalez. I'm the head of global impact computing at AWS. I've been at AWS for 2 years now and come from a career spent trying to figure out how different sectors can help drive social and environmental impact at scale around the world for the most marginalized communities around the world who are suffering most from the effects of climate change and the secondary effects of a lot of what is happening in industrialization around the world. It's been an incredible privilege to get to be at Amazon and at AWS as part of the team of teams that's helping us to really raise the bar on how we're meeting and indeed beating the global agreements that we've made as part of the UN Climate Pledge and social determinants of health. So I'm delighted to be here, and I'm representing our advanced computing team, which is part of our global specialist organization. And we have the privilege of leveraging all of advanced compute, high performance computing, supercomputing, AI/ML, quantum, advanced autonomous computing. I have some very brilliant colleagues who are really building the coolest toys, I think, that we have on the AWS stack. And me and my team, you'll be hearing from Elon a bit later, have the incredible task and privilege and I think obligation to apply these to really make the world a better place, specifically by improving the lives of human beings, other species, and entire ecosystems by figuring out what advanced compute can do to help our customers and partners.
Well, I don't know if anyone else is jazzed by that, but I certainly am, Kyle. This is, I'm excited, Nelson. I've also had the privilege of working with and some of your other colleagues, Nelson, and particularly in that high performance compute space. And, it's amazing, high performance. Maybe we should tell people a little bit, Nelson, what high performance computing is. We tend to, in our industry, use a lot of terms that I don't know that everybody precisely understands. So maybe, Nelson, first start with that definition.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I think most people understand the term supercomputing, right? And normally when we think about supercomputers, we think about, vast sort of football field size server racks where we have thousands of computers sort of crunching away on advanced analytics. Super HPC, or high performance computing, basically is the underpinning of that massive scale computing power that I think in the public imagination, happens at Facebook or for the CIA or where we're crunching massive amounts of numbers for whatever reason. What's magical about what we're doing on the cloud is we're bringing that kind of supercomputing horsepower that normally is reserved for massive national labs or major research universities to anybody who has connection to the internet and the phone or a laptop. Thanks to the AWS stack, we have any number of high performance computing solutions and indeed supercomputing solutions that take that really to the next level. And so essentially we have supercomputers as a service available to you on AWS. And we particularly are excited to be deploying these to really help improve the world. I'll just mention that last year we broke a record by doing the largest high-performance computer run ever on any cloud. We enabled 5 million vCPUs, which is the equivalent of, roughly 500,000 laptops sort of running all at the same time to help Harvard Medical School analyzed, I think, 88 billion molecules on the hunt for cures for rare cancers. We did the same thing for good chemistry. We helped them analyze millions of molecules as we try to remediate PFAS. Those are forever chemicals that normally can't be brought back into the atmosphere in clean ways. And we actually helped them solve that problem for one molecule, the first of many, by using quantum, close to quantum chemistry, computational chemistry, on the AWS cloud. So this is the way in which high-performance computing is being used. But essentially, just imagine massive compute power being deployed really at will in very cost-effective and fast ways.
Awesome. I think, and I think that the idea of being able to share that compute, that's one of the great things about the cloud. I think your example that we did with, I believe it was Dana-Farber and Harvard together, right? Doing this, the idea of being able to process these molecules faster and, sequence genomes in the case of cancer and whatnot, direct positive outcome, to mankind. But also that is part of using these computers together can also put together complex calculations to be able to solve things in the sustainability space, which is what we're talking about as well here. I mean, earlier today, we used the example of like using some of this data to be able to make a calculation of, how much algae is growing somewhere and stuff like that. So I think that, So I think we talked a little bit about kind of an overview here, Nelson, of how some of this is the applicability, all of the work that you do here. Maybe you can talk a little bit more how the cloud can be used in the commercial and public sector organizations to help with some of these environmental challenges.
Sure, absolutely. What we're seeing is that there are some really common themes, common workloads that cut across a lot of our customer and partner engagements in, as you said, both the commercial and the public sector space. And so we're beginning to understand that a lot of our customers need data architectures, data analytics, and advanced compute, particularly modeling and simulation technologies, to solve the problems that they're trying to solve as they try to work on both social and environmental impact and sustainability. And what really excites us is that in a way we're creating a second way of dealing with sustainability, because I think that the net zero carbon reduction efforts that many of our colleagues across Amazon and AWS are working on are incredibly important, right? That's table stakes. Often my colleagues talk about the social license to act in a way, right? If we aren't collectively reducing the carbon footprint of our workloads, we really can't move beyond that. At the same time, the power of advanced compute on the cloud allows us to certainly work on that net zero goal, but also move beyond that to actually thinking proactively about what do we do about the consequences of the fact that we haven't managed our carbon footprint very well, and the fact that we have so many opportunities to reduce suffering and improve lives around the world by proactively applying advanced compute. And so I'm privileged to lead a team that's doing that, and specifically we're working on climate risk and resilience. So that's thinking about how do we anticipate floods and fires, for example, wildfires and beyond. How do we think about heat waves and the impact that they might have on health or on food security? And so we're doing a lot of work around that climate risk, resilience, remediation. We're working in health analytics, thinking about the impacts of climate change on health. We're working with customers around the world on, for example, the implications of pollution for urban heat waves, particularly in communities that have been marginalized through things like redlining. We're working in conservation and biodiversity. We have a really interesting initiative around the traceability of natural resources like fish and other agricultural assets. How do we ensure that what gets to our Amazon shelf or on Prime on Fresh actually can be certifiably sustainable and has been fairly raised and even has avoided some of the human rights issues that are sometimes endemic in supply chains. And so we're doing a lot of work in conservation and biodiversity. We're thinking about circular intelligence. You'll be hearing from my colleague Elon Gleiser a bit later, but there's an enormous opportunity for us to be involved in really the redesign and rethinking of how we build everything, right? How our industrial kind of logic can be turned into a circular logic where we don't just build something once and then throw it away, but we reuse, recycle multiple times. We're also working on food security. We've launched an initiative with Harvard, the Harvard Data Science Initiative, actually, where they are doing research for us and with us on the impacts of climate on food insecurity, thinking about climate change and crop yield, for example. And with that research, we're going to be developing solutions to help our customers around green agriculture and how we move to great food security. And then finally, we're doing a lot of work on.
Sorry, Nelson, and in those partnerships, part of that is also, providing that information out to others to be able to reuse, correct? I mean, it's not just about, the sustainability tracking that you talked about associated with kind of fish and stuff. Are we supplying that information so others can copy copy how we do that, so they can too determine if their supply chain is sustainable? And I will say, someone, Harstead on Twitch, just asked if we're taking questions. So there you go. We are taking questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions that come up, or I'm happy to tell you that Nelson will answer questions.
We'll try. Indeed. It is a good question. And in some ways, we at AWS and certainly across Amazon we're learning a lot, right? As we make commitments to beat the Paris Accords by, I think, 10 years, and we're on track for that. As we make commitments for, our usage of water, returning more water than we use, eventually making sure that our infrastructure is sustainable. And then certainly our colleagues at Amazon are doing incredible work around the circularity of our own microeconomy, right, that we've created. So we are learning a lot, right? We are on a very difficult journey to make sure that we are applying our sustainability standards to ourselves and using our technology for the way that we run our own companies. And certainly we have a lot to share. So are we trying to provide data so people can copy us? I don't know if copying is the right word, but we'd love to share what we're doing. And in fact, as we've done with many things, productize some of the lessons we've learned so that we make them accessible to the broader market. I think what we're mostly doing is really, as we do at Amazon, working backward from customer needs and applying, whether it's the data lakes or the data analytics or the advanced compute, to solve the problems that they're trying to solve. So perhaps copying the know-how, right, that we're developing across our networks. And then, occasionally, if we've learned something at AWS or Amazon that's worth copying, happy to work with our colleagues to do that as well.
Yeah, and to wrap up, it sounds like there's a couple ways for those that want to use advanced cloud computing to get more involved or even support with AWS. Could you just tell us real quick about those? I'm seeing something about an ASDI grant.
Yeah, absolutely. So my team is privileged to steward the Amazon Sustainability Data Initiative, which is a massive data lake of sustainability data. We do provide a credit program. So if you go to search on Amazon Sustainability Data Initiative, you'll see links to that program, and that enables organizations around the world to, for free, use our compute resources to do beautiful things on top of that data. We ran a hackathon with UNESCO last year, actually, where we got some wonderful solutions built on top of that ASDI data. And then my team is also happy to run POCs, proof of concepts, that are fully funded with customers trying to do work in advanced compute in any of these areas. So be happy to be in touch with anybody to access those resources so that we can work with you on co-innovating in these spaces.
Awesome.
That's an amazing opportunity, I think, for people that are out there. So thank you, Nelson, and thanks for joining us today as well. Sorry, Kyle, I think you were going to...
Oh, no, I was going to say happy Earth Day and have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for your time, Nelson.
Bye-bye.